The Forgotten Women, Yorkshire Ripper Victims and the Man Who Misled the Police. Although I was only a baby at the time, I grew up in Halifax, West Yorkshire, a town where one of the Yorkshire Ripper's victims, Josephine Whittaker, was murdered in 1979. Even years later, the fear and silence of that time lingered in quiet conversations, in curfews, in the way women watched their backs at night. Between 1975 and 1980, 13 women were murdered. The media focused on the killer. The police hunted for a man. But this story is about the women, their lives, not just their deaths, and how one man's cruel hoax, the infamous Wearside Jack, led the police astray for years, with devastating consequences. The women. Wilma McCann, 1975, Leeds. Wilma was 28 years old and the mother of 4. Her life had its struggles. She battled alcoholism and was living in a council estate. But she was trying. On the night of her death, she'd simply missed a bus. Her children, aged just 2 to 9, woke up the next day to an empty house. The press labelled her a prostitute. It wasn't true. Emily Jackson, 1976, Leeds. Emily was 42. She was a mother, a wife, and desperate to help her husband make ends meet. Occasionally she sold sex in their van to pay bills. She was lured out and murdered, her body mutilated. Her family was shattered, not just by grief, but by the shame the press forced on them. Irene Richardson, 1977, Leeds. Irene was 28 and had been battling mental health issues. She was killed in Roundhay Park. Her murder was savage and ritualistic. The media again reduced her to a label, a known prostitute. But Irene was a woman trying to heal. She liked music, dancing, and had a smile her family never forgot. Patricia Pat Atkinson, 1977, Bradford. A mother of 3, 32-year-old Pat was known for being warm-hearted and fiercely loyal. Her body was found in her flat. Her children grew up with a stigma their mother didn't deserve. Jane MacDonald, 1977, Leeds. Jane was only 16, a shop assistant who lived with her family. When she was murdered, the tone changed. Suddenly, the Ripper was killing innocent girls. The press called her a respectable victim. But what does that say about the others? Jean Jordan, 1977, Manchester. Jean was 20 and a mother. She'd moved to Manchester to build a better life. After her death, Sutcliffe returned to her body to try to remove evidence. Her family never stopped fighting for her dignity. Yvonne Pearson, 1978, Bradford. Yvonne was 21 and a mother of 2. Her body was hidden under a discarded sofa for weeks before being found. She had faced mental health difficulties and was trying to get her life back on track. The press barely covered her story. Helen Reitker, 1978, Huddersfield. Helen was 18. She and her twin sister were navigating life alone after leaving care. They were close, always together. That night, Helen had taken a job to cover their rent. Her sister never forgave herself, though it wasn't her fault. Vera Millwood, 1978, Manchester. Vera was 40, a mother and suffering from multiple health conditions. She'd been visiting a hospital. She was murdered in the car park. Her death showed the Ripper wasn't limited to sex workers or city centres, but the press barely noted it. Josephine Whittaker, 1979, Halifax. Josephine was 19, a building society clerk. She was walking home after visiting her grandparents in Savile Park. Her death shocked Halifax. It shattered the idea that only certain women were at risk. Josephine was ambitious and well loved. And her family, like so many others, were heartbroken and humiliated by how the media framed the story. Barbara Leach, 1979 in Bradford. Barbara was a 20-year-old student at Bradford University. Her body was found in a back alley, less than 100 yards from her home. She was the second so-called respectable woman to die. The public began to question the way all victims had been discussed. Marguerite Walls, 1980, Leeds. Marguerite was 47 and worked for the civil service. She wasn't walking the streets, she was simply walking home. She was a private person, and her murder terrified middle-class communities who had once thought themselves safe. Jacqueline Hill, 1980, to Leeds. Jacqueline was 20, a student at Leeds University and training to be a social worker. Her murder was the final known killing before Sutcliffe's arrest. She was killed while walking from a bus stop. Her death brought the investigation to its most desperate point. Wearside Jack. While women were being murdered and families grieving, the investigation was utterly derailed, in part due to a hoax. In 1978, a man claiming to be the Ripper sent letters and an audio tape to the police. He had a Wearside accent and he mocked the investigation. The tape ended with the chilling words, "I'm Jack. I see you are still having no luck catching me." The media ran the tape publicly. Police played it at press conferences. They were so convinced by the hoax, they dismissed suspects, including Peter Sutcliffe, who didn't have the Wearside accent. Detectives focused on the voice and ignored other clear patterns. Meanwhile, Sutcliffe kept killing. It wasn't until 2005, 25 years later, that the man behind the hoax was identified through DNA. John Humble, an alcoholic from Sunderland, was arrested and jailed for perverting the course of justice. He'd cost lives, and he admitted he did it for attention. Reflection: the Yorkshire Ripper case is more than just true crime. It's a mirror reflecting how our society treats women, especially poor and working class women. For too long, the narrative divided the victims into good and bad. It focused on the killer's psychology, not the victim's humanity. But now slowly that's changing. Documentaries, books and survivors are speaking out. The women are being remembered not for how they died, but for how they lived. If you walk through parts of Halifax, Leeds, Bradford or Manchester today, you'll find plaques, benches, murals, but also silence. Many families never got justice or peace, but their daughters had names, their daughters had dreams, their daughters mattered. We remember them: Wilma, Emily, Irene, Pat, Jane, Jean, Yvonne, Helen, Vera, Josephine, Barbara, Marguerite, Jacqueline. Thank you for watching. If this video moved you, please like, subscribe and share. Let's change how we tell these stories together.